Archdiocese of Chicago is a vibrant and diverse faith community. We celebrate our faith through worship, evangelization, and reaching out to the needy. Welcome to Catholic Chicago.
Good morning, welcome to Catholic Chicago. I'm Father Greg Sakowicz, the rector of Columbia Cathedral in Chicago. I'm very blessed. We are taping this day on Holy Thursday. We played back on Good Friday or even later this afternoon. So these are the holiest days of the year. Make these days holy. Be part of Holy Thursday, Good Friday, Easter Vigil, Easter morn. May God bless all of you. But seated to my left is a great friend going back over 50 years, Mark Teresi, who does so much for the cathedral, in charge of the 150th, the 175th that we just finished with, special projects. Good morning, Mark. How are you?
Very good. You know, Holy Thursday is also a day where the community is able to bless your priesthood.
Well, thank you.
Which I think is a wonderful moment for the church, because you and so many priests do so much for so many. And it's the one moment, I think, where I know different parishes I've been at, we're able to bless that.
Well, thank you, Mark. I'd say it's been a great ride, almost 47 years, the gift of priesthood, and I so love serving the people of God. And we go back over 50 years. It's been a great journey with you.
Yeah, our two guests aren't even close to that number.
I tell you, both of them together wouldn't match one of our ages.
No, exactly.
It's darn right. So take it away, Mark.
So as we enter the sacred Triduum, the downtown Way of the Cross, sponsored by the group Communion and Liberation, will take place on Good Friday, April 3rd, tomorrow. This liturgy is free, open to the public, begins at St. Peter's in the Loop on Madison. That's 8:45 a.m. Its stops on the route include Daly Plaza, Veterans Memorial, Wrigley Building, Water Tower, and they stop at our place at Holy Name Cathedral.
It finishes at the cathedral.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, reverent way to end at the Mother Church of the Archdiocese of Chicago. The procession includes choral music, gospel readings, reflections by a dear friend of ours, Father John Carci, the rector of Mundelein Seminary, and Bishop Mark Bartosik will also be in attendance. This unique journey through the busy streets of Chicago is an invitation. It's an invitation to encounter Christ's passion in our everyday lives. Joining us this morning to talk about the Downtown Way of the Cross, presented by Communion and Liberation, are Christine Mayeaux and Clare Chiodini. Welcome to Catholic Chicago.
Good morning, Christine. Good morning, Claire. How are you? And I know that this started the Way of the Cross back in 2005. And now for you, Christine, this will be what year for you to be part of this?
This is only my third year in Chicago, but for years I participated in the Way of the Cross, both in Florida and in Washington, D.C. before I moved here.
But tomorrow will be the third one in Chicago.
For me personally.
How about
it's been going
Claire?
on for a while.
How about you, Claire?
I think the fifth, but I've also been doing the Way of the Cross in Boston since I was born, essentially. So someone used to be strolling me along the Way of the Cross once upon a time.
Now, basically, with some little background is, I know, Christine, you are from Florida. Claire, you are from Massachusetts. Here you are with our program today. You've been involved with the Way of the Cross since you were much younger. In Claire's case, a stroller being strolled around the streets in their hometown. How did you get involved, Christine? Even before Chicago, how did this happen?
So Claire and I both belong to the Catholic movement, Communion and Liberation, and it's been a long-standing tradition of our movement. As this kind of public gesture is an invitation to remember the Passion of Christ on Good Friday, both for the world and also for ourselves as we walk through the streets with the cross and listen to the reflections and the Gospels and the music that accompanies it.
Now, how about for you, Claire? What got you involved? I know it was with a stroller, but from your mom and dad or something?
No, I've been doing it since I was a child for the same reasons as Christine says. But when I was 13, I joined the choir in Boston because most of the ways of the cross, part of the gesture, as Christine said, is listening to choral music, and that choral music is sung by a choir. And so when I was 13, I had a very high voice as a little soprano, and so I joined, and I've been singing these choral pieces ever since.
Wow.
Now, as you're involved in this, and we had alluded to the fact that you folks are much younger than we are.
Alluded to be real.
Yeah, we were being
reality.
We were being real.
Yeah, very real.
So, talk about this impact of this event to your generation. Why should young people come to this?
I can jump in first, Christine. I think it's a beautiful moment for you to kind of stand up for your faith. I remember doing this as a kid and always being a little bit embarrassed because you're walking through the streets and everyone's looking at you and you're kind of like, oh no, don't look at me. You're a little bit, it's a little bit, disconcerting. But at the same time, firstly, it's a beautiful thing to do for yourself to remember what Jesus had to go through on that day. But secondly, it's also incredible when you see people walking past and it's as though they remember that when they see you, that today is Good Friday. And so you get, children asking their parents what's going on and their parents explaining, or you get other people pausing to do the sign of the cross. And it's just a beautiful way for you to be also a missionary, I think, and to communicate what's happening and the importance of this day to everyone around you.
How about for you, Christine?
I would say all the same things as Claire, but especially it can be, in the world we live in today, an easy day to forget what happened on Good Friday. And as Claire mentioned, it's really this missionary gesture to kind of remind the world, and especially in our city of Chicago, of the fact that this is the day that Christ died for the salvation of the world. So it's a beautiful day to remind the whole city of that, but also for myself to be more fully aware of Christ's love for me in his passion.
Now, create a picture for our viewers. Create a picture of the day itself. Now, as I remember it, you pick up people along the way, too. People who start at St. Peter's, and you want people to start with you. But as the movement occurs, it seems like people are kind of turned on to the idea of, I want to join this. I want to join this. So could both of you, maybe Christine, start? Paint a picture of this for people. What's going to happen when they get to St. Peter's?
So we'll arrive at St. Peter's. Hopefully we'll fill the pews there. And we have little booklets that include many of the reflections and the readings that will go throughout the day. And we'll start there and we'll slowly process to, I think we're doing 4 different stations this year. And we have like a police escort, and it's a pretty large group. Whenever I first started doing this in Florida, we were like 20 people in a park. So moving to Chicago is a very different, reality of this massive group, as you see in some of the pictures, walking through downtown. And it's kind of like hustle and bustle. Life is going on around you, just as it probably would have been as Jesus was like carrying his cross through the streets of Jerusalem.
That's a very good point.
So we'll stop at each station and we'll listen to some choral music. We'll listen to a piece of the gospel, a reflection on that, as well as possibly some poetry or some writings from the founder of Communion and Liberation, Luigi Giussani. So we'll do that at each of the stations, along with some choral music, some just to listen to, some to sing along with. And then we'll walk down north on Michigan Avenue. And so it's a really public, crowded kind of place, and you almost have to really keep your eye on the cross, because if not, you can kind of get lost in the crowd. You have to be like, oh no, I'm with those people.
And also the hustle bustle of all the cars going by on Michigan Avenue, and I know people have said that, from pastor's part of it, people honk as a way of supporting, and like thumbs up. And but the question I have, were there about 300 people last year? I'm trying to remember.
I think so. It was a pretty big crowd. We don't count, but we passed out. I think we had 300 booklets, and we ran out of our booklets.
Now here's a question for both of you. You have both been doing this for a good number of years in your life, and of course you're still both very young. How has the Way of the Cross on Good Friday morning, the walk, either when you were in Florida, Massachusetts, or now Chicago, How has it touched and changed your life? Claire?
I mean, I think it's the moment that I'm with the Lord. You know, I think in the Triduum there's a lot of proposals. There's Holy Thursday Mass. There's the Easter Vigil. There's a lot of things, and those are all beautiful, and important and sacramental. But I think the Good Friday moment for me is the moment that you have to put yourself on the hook a little bit and actually be with Jesus and do this sort of uncomfortable thing. But in doing that uncomfortable thing, you ask yourself, why am I doing this? Because if Jesus did not die and actually resurrect for my sake, this doesn't make sense. This is an insane thing to do. And so it's this moment to firstly reconfirm for myself what I believe, and secondly then to go out and walk with him, and share with him in the sacrifice that he made for us that day. So for me, it's that kind of a call to memory.
Christine? Thank you for that great response, Claire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Claire's saying a lot of great things that I would
So are you, Christine.
I would also reiterate. One thing that's been interesting for me that's different about being a part of coordinating it is there's also kind of a sacrifice in that I don't just necessarily get to sit and listen and reflect sometimes. Like there's a lot of work to be done as well because it's a large group of people to organize. And so some of the sacrifice is also in the fact that I'm having to move people around and be we need to stand here, not here, adjust things. And so an attentiveness really to what's going on in the moment, as well as trying to enter into the memories. There's a different kind of sacrifice involved of sometimes being I just want to sit and listen to the gospel. But there's also the work to be done to make this beautiful gesture happen.
That's a great insight.
I want to share this, and that is sometimes when I'm teaching children, I'll say, boys and girls, Friday is Good Friday. I say, why do we call it Good Friday? Why don't we call it Bad Friday, Sad Friday, Unhappy Friday? Why do we call it good? And they're raising their hands for answers. And simply the response is that death does not have the last word. But for Jesus, there is no resurrection without Good Friday. The Lord could not leapfrog the cross to get to resurrection. He had to go through the cross. But death does not have the last word. So when you think about it, it's Good Friday. Our Lord was crucified, horrible crucifixion, agonizing death, and we're calling it Good Friday. Because again, death does not have the last word. You put a whole sense of hope and eternal life in the Lord. From death to life so abundant, we call it eternal. Mark, why don't you take us to break?
Okay, Catholic Chicago here in Chicago. Catholic Chicago with Father Greg Sackowitz.
We have a very, very clever title.
Yeah,
Catholic Chicago.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's not Catholic Pensacola. Anyway, we're with Christine, Mayeaux, Clare, Chiodini, and we're going to be talking a little bit more about communion liberation. Claire, you said something which I want to talk about with both of you. You said it's hard sometimes to keep your eye on the cross. I want to come back to that with both of you and explore that with you. We'll be back in a few minutes. Please stay tuned.
I am a seminarian.
The Church needs compassionate and well-trained priests to help guide each of us through life.
What inspires me, what draws me always to the priesthood is continue to see priests be a beacon of hope for other people.
You can play a part in the education of these young men as they prepare for a life of service to others.
I want to be that beacon of hope too, and it sets my heart on fire.
To support our seminarians, make your gift at archchicago.org/seminarian fund or call 312-534-7959.
We're back. Catholic Chicago, Father Greg Sakowicz, Mark Teresa here with Christine Mayeaux and Clare Chiodini. We're talking about the Way of the Cross on Good Friday, which begins at St. Peter's.
I do want to say, though, I want to thank Michael for providing great photos
beautiful.
and videos from previous years. It's just seeing people who I've known for past years, some have gone home to God, but just the videos and the still photos have been phenomenal. But you have a great question to ask, I think, probably with Claire and Christine.
Yes, exactly. So Christine, you had mentioned in the crowd, sometimes it's hard to keep your eye on the cross. I think that should be the title of this whole Way of the Cross. Keep your eye on the cross. You hear that phrase, and practically or metaphorically, what does that mean for you? Maybe Christine start and then Claire. Keep your eye on the cross.
Yeah, I think like in the practical sense through downtown Chicago, right? You know, you're trying to stay with the crowd to not get too separated. And there is, we also enter into this movement as a gesture of silence as well, which is like nuts in the middle of Michigan Avenue. But there, it also relates back to your own life of in the midst of the distractions and the busyness to not forget that there's something that leads you and guides you. And someone in particular who calls you to himself, and that even when he might appear distant, to continue walking in that direction, even if the cross is like so faint and far away, for me to remember to continue following.
Beautiful.
Claire?
Yeah, I think, again, everything Christine said, but also, I mean, I think the physical aspect of following the cross, I mean, it's so also metaphorical to what happens in our daily life, you know, like you can even be out on this journey having said to yourself, I'm following the cross, so this is the point. And yet while you're walking through the streets with millions of people passing you and all of this chatter around you, even when you're in silence, your head can be in 100 different places, you know, and it's not with Jesus on the cross. And so there's always this requirement to call yourself back, to say, okay, but what am I following? Where am I going? And one of the, also again, the beautiful parts about how, you know, this gesture reflects life is you're with a group, like you're following together in a companionship. And this is part of what helps you keep following the cross, even when your head is in 100 different places, you know, that you have you have your friends around you who say, no, we're walking this way because the Lord is there, you know? So anyways.
Beautiful. No, you both of you made me think of a story which I have not thought of in some years, but you know, there's a mixed review of The Passion of Christ, the movie. But my wife and I discerned very specifically that our sons were old enough to come to see the movie. So our Marty was maybe 10, maybe 11. And we're at Mass the next Sunday. And the priest holds up the bread. This is my body, and this is my blood. Marty leaned over to me. He said, I'm never going to hear that the same way again.
Wow. 10 years old?
10 years old. And I thought, he just taught me something. He taught me to connect what's going on with that Way of the Cross to the sacrifice. What you both are talking about, the sacrifice that Jesus made for us. And I thought, 10 years old, but maybe we have
What an insight.
Yeah, we have to listen to the young people in terms,
We do.
like you folks. We have to listen to you in terms of how this impacts your life.
It's also very interesting when Christine and Claire talking, and that is, you know, keep your eyes on the cross. We have so many distractions every day, the ways of the world, about power, greed, money, thirst for this or that, possessions. And the Lord says, keep your eye on the cross. Just like, I'll tell you, in baseball, coaches will say, keep your eye on the ball. Keep your eye on the ball. And when an outfielder sometimes drops a fly ball, because maybe they've lost it in the sun, I can't see the ball. I've been blinded by the sun, even with sunglasses on. But you're always taught, in any sport, keep your eye on the ball as a follower of the way of the Lord. In fact, the word Christian was first used, I think, in Antioch in about 100 AD. And the word Christian means to be a follower of the way of the cross. That's what Christian means, to be a follower of the way of the cross. and to follow the Lord. It's easy in good times, sometimes hard in hard times. The Lord says, I'm with you in the good days and the hard days.
Yeah, and Christine and Claire, how does this event change your Easter or impact your Easter and then the Easter season? We always forget, I'm always reminded, the Easter season is 50 days.
Right. It doesn't end Sunday night.
No, it doesn't end Sunday. So how does this impact your Easter? Either one of you.
Go ahead, Claire.
Jump right in.
Go ahead, Claire.
I think for me, one of the things that, part of what makes the resurrection incredible is obviously the sacrifice first, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you just sort of strut into Sunday and you're like, everything's been good, you don't even recognize the huge difference that has occurred on Easter Day, So I think in part, it really prepares the heart by making it really desire the resurrection. Like you've really sat with Jesus on the cross, and now you're like, boy, oh boy, I cannot wait for him to rise, you know? So I think that's part of it. And then for me in particular, also practicing the choral music throughout the Lenten season is a really beautiful and an important way that I really enter into the depth and reflect multiple times on the depths of the sorrow of Jesus' sorrow, of Mary's sorrow, seeing her son die. And so again, it's just another way in which my heart is preparing itself to desire the resurrection, the answer to all of this suffering.
How about you, Christine? That was a great response, Claire.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I think that there, like Claire had mentioned, there's something about being able to enter into the passion that makes the resurrection that much more joyful. And I always just think of how, like, at the Easter Vigil, you start outside in the darkness, but there's the fire. Like there's something that begins and then grows out of the darkness. So even in the moments that are painful or difficult, that there's always hope. There's hope for the other side. And I am the same as everybody else. I forget that Easter lasts a whole 50 days. I start to go back into the normal things. But I hope to continue to remember to celebrate and to feast throughout the season of Easter.
Here's also something to remember, and that is, we're talking about Holy Week. You're talking about Holy Thursday, Good Friday, the Easter Vigil, Easter morn. Think about this. As much as we believe the importance of individual prayer, everything we're talking about is done in community. And I remember back in 2020, with Holy Week in 2020, with COVID, our cathedral was locked. No Holy Thursday with the community, Good Friday, Easter Vigil. I remember on Easter Sunday morning, which one would have had thousands of people come through for masses in the cathedral. It was 10 o'clock on Easter Sunday morning. The church is locked. The church is dark. I'm sitting there in the fourth pew praying in an empty cathedral, doors locked on Easter morn, saying, this can't be happening. And it was such a depressing moment because there was no community. I had celebrated the Eucharist with the Cardinal for television, for ABC, but again, it wasn't the same. And so thank God we are open and able to walk the streets of Chicago for Good Friday. Now again, for our listeners and our viewers, it begins at St. Peter's over on Madison at 8:45 on Good Friday morning. And then, again, Mark, give the route.
They start at St. Peter's, they stop at Daly Plaza, Veterans Memorial, Wrigley Building, so you work up North Michigan Avenue to the Water Tower, and then end Holy Name Cathedral, which is State and Superior.
But again, I know we said earlier in the program, you can pick it up any way along the way. So if you live near, let's say, the Wrigley Building, you can begin there. If you miss the start over by St. Peter's, to make it convenient for you, pick it up any way along the way. And my guess is, Christine and Claire, you should be at the cathedral roughly around 11:30. Does that make sense to you?
That sounds about right. Maybe a little bit earlier. It just depends.
It all depends,
We'll be done by 11:50.
Be done, and then we invite people to come to our 12 o'clock Good Friday liturgy in the cathedral, which will be packed.
And rain or shine, correct?
Yes, that's part of the embracing of the suffering the difference between the Florida way of the cross and the Chicago way of the cross is sometimes it's cold and rainy and unpleasant. So we're here for the journey.
I think about 15, 18 years ago on Good Friday in Chicago, we had about 5 or 6 inches of snow. It was on Good Friday. It was unbelievable, a heavy storm, and early April, and it hit. So
We're not wishing for that.
oh
this
no
Friday.
no, it may rain, but it will not be snowing tomorrow.
No.
You know, any closing words, Claire or Christine, because I think you've been 2 marvelous guests, and also
Really?
here's something interesting. It also radiates in your faces when you talk about the way of the cross and the Lord, and what the Lord has meant in your life. Make a profound young women of faith. It just shows, even when you're talking, you're smiling.
Yeah.
And knowing that a lot of work has gone into tomorrow, so to the both of you, the other leaders of the whole Way of the Cross for Friday, I know many hours have been spent organizing this.
Can I ask you one question as you give any more specifics? I'm fascinated now with this Communion and Liberation group. How might people connect with that group? If they're listening to this or watching this and wow, they really get it. I want to know how to get connected to this group.
It started back in 1954. Ironically, I was born in 1953. Mark was born in 55. This started back in 54. So if someone wants to get involved with the Communion Liberation Group, as Mark said, how do they do that?
Well, you found our website. That's step one.
Now,
yeah, we're online.
What is the exact website then, Christine?
Is it clonline.org, Claire?
No.
It's if you type in Communion and Liberation, it's most likely the first Google.
Okay. Good,
Okay,
good.
fine, good.
I could be wrong, but CL online or CLUS online.
Okay, but again, it goes back to Communion and Liberation, and
And you meet once a month, correct?
We meet weekly.
Oh, you meet weekly.
where do you
Okay.
meet, by the way?
There's 3 different. You said where?
Yeah.
Yes.
There's 3 different groups. One group in Hyde Park, one in at Our Lady of the Holy Family in Little Italy, and then one out in Wheaton. And we read and we study the writings of Father Luigi Giussani, who's our founder, and we compare them to the experience of our life and try to see very clearly the unity of faith and life in the daily life that we live.
Beautiful.
Also, like asking questions about the meaning of things and trying to understand the significance of the present and recognize the presence of Christ in our daily life.
It's
Beautiful.
amazing how 2 young women so involved in their faith, inviting others to join. So I want to thank in a very, very special way Christine, Mayeaux, and Clare Chiodini for joining us today on the program. And I will see you on Good Friday morning in the courtyard of our cathedral, the last stop of the Way of the Cross. So I want to thank both of you for being with us here today. Beautiful program. Special thanks also to my co-host, Mark Teresi.
What a wonderful privilege to be here and listen.
This program just get fired up for the Triduum. And special thanks to our producers and engineers and just 2 great guys, Michael May and Clint Cottrell, for their great hard work. As usual, to our listeners, blessed Triduum and Easter morn blessings and joy. And as Mark said, Easter does not end Sunday night, but the whole 50 days leading to Pentecost. And give thanks to the Lord, for he is risen from the dead. Alleluia.